Just a quick heads up for this video, later on there's going to be some brief discussion of the practice of royal incestuous marriage. As always, I'll try to keep it tasteful, but you are now warned. The succession of Thutmose I and his claim to the throne is ambiguous at best. It's possible that his mother was a minor consort of Amenhotep, though she never bore the title king's wife. Another version of events holds that Thutmose was a military commander who married Amenhotep's daughter Amoset, securing the bloodline while keeping a man on the throne. There had been female pharaohs before, but very few and far between, and while women certainly did possess a great many legal rights in ancient Egypt, it would be wrong to suggest they had equal rights to men. A move like this would be similar to what happened with Henry VII of England, whose own claim to the throne was much weaker than that of his wife. Making him king kept a man on the throne,
which makes him more appealing to the lords of Westeros.
And by the time his son Arthur would have succeeded him, the correct bloodline would be restored. There's evidence, however, suggesting that Thutmose was very much in the picture to succeed Amenhotep before any record of his marriage to Amoset. Either way, it would be a welcome bit of, shall we say, outbreeding. Ahmose was the product of brother-sister incest, as was Amenhotep I and his daughter Amoset. I'm going to take a brief sidebar to talk about the royal habit of incest. It won't be prurient, but if you'd rather just give it a skip, I stop talking about it here. Okay? If Thutmose was himself a son of Amenhotep, then his daughter Hatshepsut was the product of 4 generations of brother-sister incest, and her children the product of 5. I don't want to put too much mustard on this sandwich. Incest is a sensitive topic with good reason, since in many cases it implies a lack of guardianship, or worse, a lack of consent. But one thing is worth noting here. Debate rages to this day about how common these sorts of relationships were in ancient Egyptian society as a whole. Unfortunately, the mummies in the best condition are those of the upper nobility and royalty, so while there is evidence that non-royal marriages of this sort did happen, there's no clear picture of exactly how prevalently. It's also not clear if every instance of intrafamilial marriage resulted in what were once called carnal relations. Marriage was a public declaration of guardianship, and moreover may simply have acted to prevent the political necessity of marrying, for example, royal sisters off to other nobles. 18th dynasty kings often had multiple wives, most of whom were non-royal, and any number of whom could have produced heirs, attributed later on to brother-sister unions by way of formal adoption. There clearly are instances of offspring produced from incestuous relationships, particularly later in the 18th dynasty, but I think we should be cautious about ascribing that sort of thing to every recorded marriage. And remember that sometimes the marriage is a formality, like a sort of adoption procedure. End of sidebar. Thutmose is probably most remembered today for his vanquishing of a Nubian rebellion, which began not long after his accession. This victory was overwhelming, and resulted in the growing Egyptian empire stretching even farther south, as far as the Third Cataract. He also pushed northeast through Canaan, into Syria, and even got so far east that he was astonished to discover that the river Euphrates flowed backwards, because the Euphrates was the first river the Egyptians had ever encountered that didn't flow from south to north. Another rebellion from the Nubians saw Thutmose triumphing again, leaving behind inscriptions as far south as the Fourth Cataract. He finally installed an Egyptian to be Viceroy of Kush, which, as well as being an amazing name for a large-scale cannabis farmer, ensured that the pharaoh would permanently have direct representation in Nubia, more control over the region, and far fewer future rebellions. Like his predecessors, Thutmose left behind a good deal of construction, including vast expansions of the Temple of Karnak. Unlike his predecessors, however, we do know where Thutmose was initially buried, making him the earliest king we can prove for sure was initially buried in the famous Valley of Kings. Thutmose's remains moved around a fair bit, and he shared a grave with his daughter Hatshepsut for a time, before being moved once more into a tomb of his own, and at last into the same cache of royal mummies where Ahmose and Amenhotep were eventually found. Thutmose bequeathed his kingdom to 2 of his 6 children, Thutmose II, the son of a non-royal concubine, and Hatshepsut, Thutmose's daughter by his queen Amoset. And their reign would be one of the most impactful of the whole dynasty, and see the new kingdom reach the heights of a golden age. More on that next week. Thanks for watching, and as always, do leave a comment if you have any questions or want to offer another perspective, and of course, the ever necessary likes and subs. The collection of siblings and cousins I then suck with an amputated giraffe are my backers at patreon.com/armchairegypt, who wouldn't want to join in with all that fun. Until next time, my fellow armchair Egyptologists, life, prosperity and health to you all. Thanks for watching. Head over to my channel for more, or click here to see what the YouTube demons think you should watch next. I hope you'll consider subscribing. If you'd like to support and collaborate on the channel with me, go to patreon.com/armchairegypt. You can also join my Discord community, there's an invite link in the description.